Congratulations! In spite of everything on your platter, you've taken the time to invest in your career and sharpen your skills in handling objections. On behalf of AOL's sales effectiveness team, I'd like you to know that we are committed to doing everything within our power to provide you with best-of-breed tools and the ability to better serve your clients while earning more money. Now, how many times have we all left sales calls wondering if the prospect really understood what we meant to convey? Wondering whether or not we've established a connection strong enough to get us back in the door to solve their marketing problems. Much of the success we experience comes not from the words out of our mouths, but more importantly, how we listen, how we empathize, and how we partner to solve our clients' needs. This program is dedicated to handling objections and divided into 3 distinct segments. In the first segment, we'll discuss the do's and don'ts of handling objections. In segment 2, we'll get to see the elements at work in a sales call. And in our final segment, we'll listen to the top objections faced by interactive marketing sellers, and we'll get to hear from them the most appropriate and powerful answers. So let's move on and take a look at the key do's and don'ts in the art of objection handling. Why deliver the do's and don'ts with a parking lot in the back? Well, to help illustrate the point that before any meeting, it's important to have the do's at the forefront of your mind and make sure to leave the don'ts out in the parking lot where they belong. Now, let's take a look at the don'ts first, and then we'll concentrate on the do's. Don't number 1, don't argue or challenge. Don't argue or challenge in an attempt to prove that you are right and they are wrong. You might win the battle with words, but lose the war of emotions. Think of objections as welcome requests for more information, or a simple defense mechanism on the behalf of a buyer who is not sure whether or not they should have committed the time. Either way, the prospect is essentially saying the same thing. Show me the value. So stay focused and position yourself as a consultant, a friend, and a helper. Don't number 2, don't play ping pong. Get the objection on the table. Don't lob back an answer to every minor objection. You'll only create a combative atmosphere. Instead, listen intently and continue to extract the objections without feeling compelled to answer immediately. Get as many objections as you can on the table. You'll find that the objections often come in groups, and by listening, you'll be able to determine the big and important ones. By tackling the big ones first, you'll often find that the little ones fall by the wayside. Don't number 3, don't forget to use your tools. Don't forget to use your tools. It's easy to fall into the trap of answering every client's objection verbally and on the fly. Instead, use the research within your presentation or the research available to you back at AOL. Not every prospect responds to talk, and many marketers are motivated by data. Don't number 4, don't choose inflammatory words, inappropriate phrases, or industry jargon. Words are like colors. Misuse them and you'll paint the wrong picture. Never use words like but or phrases like actually here's the truth, or the often misused to be perfectly honest with you. What does that mean? That you haven't been perfectly honest before? Language makes a difference. When reframing a prospect's concern, incorporate feel, felt, and found words to define your response. For example, rather than saying, yes, but online branding really does work, say, I understand how you feel. Others have felt the same way and have found that with proper messaging and measurement, branding online has quite an impact. Now, when it comes to industry jargon, just hit the delete button. If you use industry jargon to make a point, assume everyone's a rookie and ask if they'd like it explained. If you're certain that they're a rookie, don't ask if they'd like an explanation, just go ahead and do it. Now on to the final don't. Don't number 5, don't introduce arrogance. Think about this for a minute. Walking into a sales call with the AOL Time Warner family of brands is a lot like pulling into a parking lot driving a brand new Rolls Royce. People are going to assume that you've got a pretty high opinion of yourself, and anything that smacks of arrogance will likely get plastered right on you. Always be humble and reinforce your role as a consultant and a helper. Don't talk about your own material success. And remember that prospects are listening to one radio station, WII-FM. That's What's in It for Me Radio. If you can stay on the path to addressing their needs, they'll see your arsenal as a benefit and not a showpiece. Now let's move on to the do's. Do number 1, reinforce the fact that you believe your prospect is smart. Establish this by complimenting them on their business acumen and success by giving sincere and true examples. Your pre-call discovery will help you achieve this through identifying exciting product launches and press releases. And if you're successful at this stage, the side benefit will be that they see you as an expert. Do number 2, differentiate between sympathizing and empathizing. Sympathizing is not the same as empathizing. Sympathizing infers that you agree completely and would act the same. Empathizing recognizes the prospect's emotions and the prospect's right to have those emotions. By using the feel, felt, and found words that we discussed earlier, you can validate the client's right to their opinions and then position your message as new information that is superior and less threatening. You don't have to use the feel, felt, and found words every time, but use them enough to establish empathy. Do number 3, ask why. Don't let an objection just lay there. Seek to understand why the prospect feels the way they do. Learn of their history and try to identify their personal as well as professional needs. Nod and confirm as they talk and ask plenty of follow-up and clarifying questions. Then, get back on track by taking them in a direction where you can get agreement. Ultimately, your questions should build upon a path of discovery where the little agreements along the way add up to a conclusion that is natural and obvious for them to accept. Do number 4, practice intense and effective listening. Listen to your prospect as if they are the most important person you have ever met. Listen for subtext and underlying needs. Are they afraid of technology and risk? Are they visionaries looking for the big idea? Or are they worried about building internal support? You can learn more about listening by viewing our effective listening presentation on Market AOL. Do number 5, feed the objection back. It is crucially important that you restate all objections before attempting to address them. Many times upon confirmation, you'll learn that the objections are either deeper or not as deep as they first appear. Don't forget to follow up with several more why questions. And when restating the objection, always give them the time to correct you. Do number 6, eventually answer the objection. Answer the objection if you feel that it is the appropriate time and you have the data you need. When answering, make sure that you have a succinct and powerful answer. Just flying by the seat of your pants and entering into a circular diatribe only undermines your role as an expert. Answers need to have one central theme directly related to their concern. Practice your answers to common objections, and if you are uncomfortable in giving a response on the fly, tell them that you have access to supporting materials and research that will be helpful in overcoming any of their concerns. Then ask them if it's okay to table the concern for now and revisit it later. When you do take on an objection, ask them if in fact they agree with your answer. If they do, say something to the effect of, now that we have answered your concerns, can we move on? If they do not agree, either go back and try again or encourage them to table the concern for later while you work to answer the biggest question, which is, how are they going to make money by marketing with AOL? Do number 7, do attempt trial closes. Don't be afraid to say things like, now that we've addressed some of your concerns, are you feeling more comfortable in making an investment? Or, now that I've shown you some examples of companies achieving measurable success, do you have a greater urgency to get a winning strategy in place? Okay, provided that we've used the Sales Presentation Guide's checklist, done our research, and prepared meaningful questions, we are ready to see our prospect. So let's go be a fly on the wall while we watch an AOL sales call in action.
Randy, thanks for meeting with me today. I'm so looking forward to learning about your business. I understand from my research that you've surpassed $100 million in annual sales with about $14 million in advertising, mostly for cable television. Is our research correct?
Yes, I think so. It's been a hell of a ride, Susan. My mother started this mattress company 30 years ago, and we haven't looked back since.
Randy, I'd like to take you through an overview of AOL and demonstrate how we've helped companies put interactive marketing at the center of their marketing plans, with measurable success, I might add. Before we get started, I'd like to get your perspective on online marketing.
Put it this way. The 7,000 square foot home that I was building last year turned out to be 3,200 square feet because my idiot brother put a huge chunk of our money into Pets.com stock.
Well, you're not the only one. I have watched my own stock options dwindle away, and the rate this market is going, I am going to be working this job until I'm at least 90. Randy, have you ever tried any online advertising?
One of our computer guys bought some keywords. I think it did okay. I've got to be honest with you though. I don't think anyone's going to buy a mattress online. People need to feel our products before they make a decision. And with the internet, it's all price. It's a game I can't win.
Well, first, I think you've got to understand that keywords are a lot different than what I'm going to talk to you about. And next, you need to realize that there are plenty of successes taking place every day with personal products like cars and cosmetics. Finally, if it was all about price, we wouldn't have several players in each category, and they've learned that it's all about differentiation.
I see. But what about ad rates? I hear online is expensive.
Actually, it's expensive for you not to have an online strategy. With online, you can connect with your customers in a powerful way. You can collect their email addresses, you can market back to them, you can show them how quality mattresses will make a difference in people's lives.
TV's been able to get a lot of people into my stores. I guess that's why we've committed so much of the budget to TV.
Yes, but the way people are spending their time consuming media these days, TV viewership is decreasing. Did you know that consumers are spending about 11% of their time online?
I didn't know that. It just seems to me that television can do so much more. TV appeals to people's emotions. The internet, it still feels cold.
Not really. TV is plagued by declining viewership and rising costs. If we put you in our family area or our home improvement area on our properties, you can connect with people right when they're thinking about their homes.
I've tried the home improvement section in the newspaper. I got very little return on investment there. Look, everyone's a prospect for a mattress. Everybody sleeps, right? So a broad medium has worked pretty well for me. What can you do for me that television can't?
Well, why don't I show you?
Okay, but before you do that, tell me about these revenue share deals I've heard about. If you guys are as strong as you say, why don't you take some risk and do a test with me?
Oh, we don't do revenue shares. Sure, some sites do them, but have you seen those sites? They are of the same caliber of the ones you lost your money on. They're not going to be around much longer, frankly. We're building a business that'll make money and prosper no matter what happens in this economy.
Okay, look, I've only got about 10 more minutes. Why don't you show me what you've got?
Well, do you think Susan has a potential sale on her hands? It's certainly early, and she has an entire presentation to give. But what about our prospect Randy? Is he connecting? Does he believe Susan really cares for him and his business, and that she'll be able to design a solution? Let's take a look at the don'ts again. Can you identify some mistakes made along the way? Take a minute and check any boxes on the form in the workbook that you've been provided. Now let's take a look at the do's. You may identify some of these as well to check off in your workbook. Well, if you found more don'ts than do's, you're right on track. You may have found many more examples than we did, but it was pretty clear to us that Susan made a muddled attempt to make her prospect feel important. Her lack of empathy over his stock losses and her sharing of her own personal wealth loss could be considered crass by some and certainly a poor sales strategy. Susan appears to be more interested in her needs than his. Now, things went downhill with even greater velocity as she attempted to answer every objection in ping-pong fashion, and she spoke down to him with phrases such as, "You've got to understand," and uses of the but word. Her arrogance about revenue sharing and AOL's desire to build a successful business in any economy implies that AOL does not particularly care about anyone else's success. She's focused on AOL's needs, not the customers. Did you find Susan arrogant? Did you feel a slight adjustment in tone and style could have produced a better result? Did you notice that despite Susan's lack of skill and sincerity, Randy kept his emotions intact? Do you think clients are likely to share the fact that they are insulted? Or are they more likely just to politely move along and not buy? Well, let me take this time to thank our talented AOL actors. Nobody wants to play a bad guy, so let's now let them show us a much better approach.
Randy, I want to thank you for taking the time to meet with me to discuss your marketing plans. I've done a little research and I've learned that you surpassed $100 million in annual sales and spent about $7 million on your ad budget on cable television. Does that sound right?
Yes, I think so. It's been a hell of a ride, Susan. My mother started this mattress company 30 years ago, and we haven't looked back since.
Wow, that's really something to be proud of. You must have surpassed many great competitors along the way. If you don't mind, I'd like to take you through a brief overview of AOL and demonstrate how we've helped some other companies put interactive marketing at the center of their marketing plans with a lot of success. But most importantly, I'd like to get your perspective on online marketing.
Put it this way, the 7,000 square foot house I was building last year is now 3,200 square feet because my idiot brother put a huge chunk of our money into pets.com stock.
I'm so sorry to hear that. Hasn't this year just been the worst for .coms and the economy? Many of my clients have lost money on the .com investments. Luckily, they've found that the market value of .coms and the value of online advertising are separate subjects. This distinction has helped them take advantage of the tremendous marketing power of online advertising. Randy, have you done any online advertising in the past?
One of our tech guys bought some keywords. I think it did okay. I've got to be honest with you though. I don't think anyone is going to buy a mattress online. People need to feel our products before they make a decision. And with the internet, it's all about price. Really, it's a game I can't win at.
I absolutely understand your concerns. Many of our partners have felt the same way prior to investing in an online campaign. I'd like to take you through some examples to see what's working, and then we can decide what makes sense for your business.
Fair enough. But what about the ad rates? I hear online is expensive.
Internet CPMs tend to be in line with many other marketing vehicles. More expensive than some, less expensive than many. At AOL, we like to focus our energy on achieving returns for you that are going to justify that investment. If we can do that, would you be likely to move forward?
Yes, if we can achieve all that. TV has been able to get people into my stores. I guess that's why I've committed so much budget to television. It just seems to me that television can do so much more. The internet still feels cold.
Well, why is that?
I'm not sure, it just does.
Is it the emotional part of television that you feel you'd lose in doing an online campaign?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean.
I understand. I too am a great fan of TV and the emotional impact it can provide. In fact, I wouldn't suggest you drop your TV advertising. Many of us at AOL used to sell television advertising. I guess we've been drawn to the online medium not only because of its ability to entertain and inform, but also to deliver consumers the information and help they want when they want it. We've seen that there is a lot of power in that, and I know that I feel more emotionally connected to a brand when they can help me get the information and the service I need. Do you see how online can help win the share of heart game as well?
I hadn't thought of it that way. You make a good point about service and convenience.
Terrific. Why don't I show you how AOL can help grow your business?
Great. But before you do that, tell me about these revenue share deals I've heard about. If you guys are as strong as you say, why don't you take some risk and do a test with me?
Unlike traditional advertising, the internet generally requires more attention and involvement on the advertiser's part. And this involvement really pays off in multiples. But with revenue sharing deals, frankly, we've found that our partners are less committed to making their ads and promotions work. And that leaves a lot of work to us. I think we all need to have some skin in the game. Does that make sense to you?
I hear you, Susan, and can understand to a degree. But I sure would feel a lot more comfortable if we could do a test of some kind.
Randy, I knew walking in here that you weren't going to invest in AOL just because I can give you a free account and a couple of nice premiums. Just like other media that you purchased, we don't expect you to spend a dime until you are completely convinced of our ability to deliver results.
Okay, show me what you've got.
Did you notice how the objections remained the same, but the entire tone changed? Without challenging the prospect and by showing empathy, Susan helped Randy open up. Susan practiced effective listening without interrupting. She used the feel, felt, and found words, and she didn't attempt to take on every objection. She also asked clarifying questions and closed the loop on the objections he raised before moving on. Did you see how she listened for his subtext? His last question about revenue sharing was really about value. If Susan can increase the value in his mind, he'll be willing to assume the same risk with online that he did with all other media. Now for segment 3. In segment 3, you'll find the top objections encountered by AOL sales reps. Rather than give you answers from one source, we've recruited the talents of many of interactive marketing sellers and edited down their responses to the best answers to each objection. When these objections come up in sales calls, it's likely our sales pros will use questioning skills and the tips outlined in this video to dig deeper. However, when put in a position where nothing but a response will do, here's what they've had to say. I understand that banners don't work.
And you might be right in that a banner may not be the best way to fulfill your marketing objective. Let's take a look at what your overall objective is and what your overall goal is for your plan, and then determine what is the best unit, the best interactive unit or online unit to get you to that goal.
Well, I can understand that. I've heard that a lot in the marketplace. I think banners, it really depends on what you're doing. Obviously, banners aren't the only thing you can do online. There's a lot of integrated opportunities, from extremely targeted placements in the online space to also complete integration, and we've even started experimenting with running sweepstakes, where people are actually promoting sweepstakes where you're gathering data on people and gathering information on the people that are cruising the internet and who might have an interest in your product or in your brand. So there's a lot of other options outside of banners, but even banners alone, I think it's unfair to say that they don't work, because I've seen banners that do work. We obviously do sell a lot of banners on AOL, and a lot of them are very fruitful and actually do benefit our customers in a very positive way. In addition, I think the creative element of a banner is extremely important to its effectiveness. You've got to have the right messaging, and you've got to tell the users what you want from them. And if you do that, I think a banner program can be pretty successful.
My product is different. Nobody will buy my product online.
Sure. Well, you know what? Online advertising isn't necessarily about selling product online. In fact, one of the things that we're looking at and finding a lot is that people are coming online to do research about products, and that's the fundamental key about online advertising. We want to get members while they're online, engage them, and give them the information they're seeking while they're online. And then if they go offline and purchase in a retail store, the more the better. And we're finding more and more people are doing that.
I don't see the internet as a branding medium.
The internet can do a lot of things. It can help create awareness. When you're in 32 million homes, as AOL is, you have the opportunity to reach a large percentage of people at one given time. When you couple that with 70 minutes a day, 32 million people, 70 minutes a day, you have an audience that you have the opportunity to transmit a very solid message. I don't see a better branding play anywhere.
We've done a little research on that. We've heard this question before. And the internet actually is an excellent medium for branding. We have looked at the differences between the internet and, say, TV, known to be the best branding medium. And we've actually found the recall, in some cases, is better on the internet than it is for television. And when you think about the reasons and why that's so, well, TV is more passive, whereas the internet is more active. So an impression there is a lot more valuable than an impression on television. So from a branding standpoint, recall would make sense, would be better than on television.
Our brand is a household name. I don't see why I need to advertise online when people can just type in my web address.
They'll go to your website. What we want to do is help them go there when they aren't thinking about it, just like an impulse purchase. Consider advertising an end aisle display. They're always going to walk down the aisle when they need cornflakes, but your best sales are the time when they aren't thinking about it, but you stimulate that thought. That's how we want to use advertising to get them to your website.
I understand many companies will do revenue shares, cost per acquisition or cost per click deals. Will you?
Well, you know, with all due respect for a lot of those companies, that's all they can do. The fact of the matter is if we controlled every aspect of your campaign, we'd be happy to, but we don't. And so we find the best opportunity for us is you do what you do best, let us do what we do best, and together we'll be successful.
Here's what we will do. We should sit down together and determine what your metrics for success are going to be. So let's say you need to get to a $50 cost per acquisition for your members. What we will do is sit down and look in our vast audience and determine what is the best way to get people to interact with your brand so they're actually going to go and subscribe. We will work backwards and come up with what is the ideal media plan, the ideal number of impressions, because we work in an impressions-based medium, and we will come up with the metrics with you so that ultimately your deal will perform for you.
I hear click-through rates are dropping through the floor.
For those advertisers that aren't really doing anything to try to improve their click-through rates, they are. We've seen advertisers that run the same campaign year in, year out. Their click-through rates are diminishing. But for folks who are looking at new ways to drive their creative and using some of the placements we have, like related product links, potentially content blocks, even interactive quizzes and polls, those click-through rates are going up. The myth about click-through rates is that all clicks are created equal. Consumers go where they're most engaged. And 2 years ago, banners were fascinating. Right now, they're only part of the equation. And if you rely just on banners, you're going to get average to below average click-through rates. If you look at some of the things that are different ways to talk to consumers, from rich media into a little microsite, you're going to see much greater response because you're working with the consumer and leading them versus waiting for them to respond to something that they've already seen.
Well, you know, as the internet has matured and there become more and more sites, and on those sites you're getting more and more creative elements, you're finding a lot of clutter, and you're finding that those sites are having a lot more to offer. So it's natural that the click-through on a particular banner might drop down. But on AOL, we stay away from that clutter. We usually have 1, maybe 2 creative units per page. So we're actually seeing a higher % click-through on AOL sites than the industry average. I think the creative element of a banner is extremely important as well in terms of developing a good click-through. The more effort you put into that creative banner, the more effective it's going to be, and also refreshing it on a timely fashion as well.
I get internet bonuses with my TV buys. Why should I use AOL?
The reason that you would want to use AOL in addition to any sort of internet buys you get in other TV medium purchases is our amount of reach. We as a medium, as a service, are reaching 76% of the entire online audience. And we have a unique ability to really deliver the transaction or the sale for you. So the difference in just doing an internet buy through a TV buy and purchasing AOL is the ability to really reach the right audience at the right time, hitting 76% of the online audience.
I think the fundamental question as to why you should use AOL goes back to our core strength that we bring to any relationship, and that is the sheer extent of our customer relationships. You can do business with a lot of people, and you should do business with a lot of people. But once you're convinced that the online interactive medium is something you want to take advantage of for your company, we bring to bear more advantages and more opportunities for you that we believe than anybody else. And we're anxious to show you that.
We already have a media buy in place, and online is not included.
We actually talked to a lot of partners who have definitely isolated budgets toward offline or broadcast media and haven't included online. When we know that approximately 11% of media consumption of consumers is dedicated to online, we've seen a lot of value in incorporating that element into an integrated media plan. In addition to time spent, we can also extend that message. So we can build off of your campaign that you're using from a broadcast, print, or outdoor perspective and really reinforce it from an online medium perspective.
Well, I think online can actually bring and tie together all of your offline media in a very unique way. It'll give you a destination place to drive your members. You can actually drive customers from your print and your TV ads to an online destination and engage them in an interactive way as opposed to the passive way that print and TV traditionally delivers.
I'll do something with you, but only if it's on the welcome screen.
You know, and arguably the welcome screen on AOL is the most valuable real estate in all of cyberspace. You keep in mind you have 32 million members coming through. The first thing they see is the welcome screen. But keep in mind it's still very broad reach in nature. You're hitting every person coming in there, no matter what product they're more likely to buy. But you know, the welcome screen is just one element of an effective campaign. In fact, many campaigns don't even need the welcome screen. A lot of them run in very targeted inventory with key placements with both text and banners and rich media, and they're very effective campaigns. So I think in people's mind, they hear the welcome screen. It works very well for other partners, but it's not necessary for all campaigns.
The best place to be is closer to where your consumer is, more in consideration of your message. Think of the auto channel. Our best auto channel messages are on the product page where the consumer is thinking about, should I buy a sedan or a minivan? That's where I think you're going to see the strongest messages. The other thing about the welcome screen is that the first ad consumers usually see is an email. They'll go past the welcome screen to check their email, and that first ad in the email inbox is probably the most powerful place because it's the first one they've seen. It's in an uncluttered environment, and the right creative there actually draws them off very early in their AOL session.
We ran with AOL before, and the ROI was terrible. We just don't want to run the risk again.
I'd love to hear your experience with your past campaign. And basically, we have teams within AOL Interactive Marketing that are focused solely on optimization of campaigns. We look at the placement, the various creative messaging, special opportunities. Now keep in mind we have the largest online audience in cyberspace, and it's just a matter of finding those really key targeted nuggets of targeted inventory for an effective campaign. What I'll do is I'll take the information that you provide, do a little research with our teams, and come up with better approaches and come back to you with a better campaign.
Other sites, even high-profile brands, are hungry and bending over backwards to be creative. AOL is too inflexible.
You know, we've definitely heard that in the past, and I'd just like to tell you a little bit about where AOL is today. We've done great things in the third-party ad serving department, really addressed a lot of those concerns. Great strides in rich media, addressing almost everything we have to do in the rich media world. And we also are offering, for the first time, real multi-brand, multi-platform deals to accommodate you within our AOL Time Warner family of brands.
I've heard that once I enter negotiations, your people always want a pound of flesh.
Oh, God, we hear that, yes. I think the spirit of some of the things that we're asking for may not have been communicated to you, because there are certain things that we hold very near and dear to us, and if you know what some of our priorities are. For example, our 32 million member households. They're spending $23 a month for our service. They're on our service 70 minutes a day. So we want to make sure that their experience is as positive as possible. So it also leads to greater trust that they will have in our product and greater response for you. So some of the things that we may have asked for in the past, purely to make sure that the member experience, we maintain a standard on the member experience. But I will say that we've probably gotten better over the last couple of years as we've been able to see what members are doing on the service, what members want, what members don't want on the service. And so I think if we would have talked a couple of years ago and we had some either exclusivity issues or rich media issues, you'll see that we've softened over the last couple of years as we get to know our members better. The bottom line is we absolutely want to get this relationship done, and we will work very hard to get it that way.
We've spent our money for the year. Why don't you come and see us in 9 months?
Well, the role we play for you if we are to get in business together, is one of consultant as it relates to understanding the goals and objectives of your business overall, not just from the standpoint of advertising and marketing, but overall. And from that perspective, we can give you better advice long term to how to best utilize the assets that AOL Time Warner can bring you. So the best time actually for us to be working with you is prior to you actually having determined that you want to spend money in advertising. Because from that point, we can really truly understand your business objectives and better address those in the context of your whole business.
You know, I think that's fair. We can't really expect you to pull out all the dollars that you've committed over the year already. But what I'd like to do is keep you updated on all the opportunities that come by. The last thing I want to see is your competitors within your industry getting first shot at some of the great ideas that AOL comes up with. And keep in mind, it's common for sites, everyone in cyberspace comes up with great ideas, but no other company in the world can come up with those ideas in addition to backing it up with the largest audience in cyberspace.
So there you go. The do's, the don'ts, a sales call in action, and the best responses from our selling professionals. Sometimes the challenges we face in this business are mind-bending and even overwhelming. When facing adversity, I encourage you to remember what Vince Lombardi once said. He said, "Inches make champions." I also want you to remember that a client's best day is the day they sit down and meet with you, an AOL marketing professional. You're the industry's best and brightest, and you're armed with the greatest collection of marketing assets on the planet. From all of us at the Sales Effectiveness Team, thank you for participating.